The mental health impacts of war. The impacts of war affect people's mental health drastically, as most war veterans seem to suffer from mental disorders such as anxiety, depression. War survivors get the biggest blow, but other civilians and people that are also affected by the impacts of war, as their environments and themselves can be changed in a matter of days. For example, these war veterans were frightened after July 4th fireworks were set off in their city.
Mimic very realistically a combat situation. Lights, the flashing lights, those were always used. It's just too much like combat. It smells and tastes like combat to some people.
And the reaction he sees?
Cowering in the corner sometimes.
Paul's neighbor in shelter is Peter Hansen, a Vietnam War veteran serving our nation the brutal day when Saigon fell. He too knows the 4th fireworks can be fierce for veterans.
I've known guys to hide under tables, to peek around corners, to just dodge out around sight, especially with an unexpected boom. It's a life sentence, yes.
A life sentence not without the tools to avoid triggers. For Peter,
I meditate a lot.
Meditation helps, and for Paul, cleaning quiets the mind. Both say veterans need programs to help them find quiet places away from the fireworks.
For example, Oxford University did a study on people's mental health after they went into war, and they discovered that most people suffer from long-term effects such as PTSD, anxiety, and other mental disorders. They use people from wars such as World War I, World War II, and the Vietnam War. They mention how war impacts a person or survivor both physically and mentally, and how it can affect them in long-term ways, for example, PTSD. However, some war veterans are not affected at all by these mental disorders.
People would say, "Aren't you afraid to die and run?" I said, "I'm not even afraid of living."
If you don't know what PTSD is a problem that people have, which is the intense, disturbing thoughts and feelings related to their experience that last long after the traumatic event has ended, such as a war. Here's another example of a war veteran that suffers from PTSD.
This is from Canada, and civilians from I can't recall the company, but it was pretty bad. They were in pieces, and that was rough. I had to carry. I don't like talking about it. But I had to carry some of the soldiers out, so it was tough, man.
How many years were you in the military?
Like 16 total.
It's a lot.
Yeah, so people say talk about the stuff you've been through, but once you see a lot of violence, it's always there. When you see the U.S. soldiers or civilians killed, especially kids,
It changes you.
As you can tell, this war veteran suffers from a mental disorder known as PTSD, and this mental disorder could affect him for the rest of his life, keeping him in fear. Overall, PTSD is very serious as it affects most war veterans and their mental health, causing their lives to be changed forever.